This is your daily news report. The Federal Reserve finished their two-day policy meeting. We're going to cover the situation regarding the money printing, inflation, unemployment, and interest rates. I'm going to break it down for you nice and easy so you're aware of the situation and you know what to take. I'm going to give you status updates on the $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill. Nancy Pelosi put the Democrats in a bad position. She's trying to fix the situation and we'll know by Monday if she pulls it off or not. 4 Republicans in the House of Representatives filed articles of impeachment against President Biden. This is the second time that articles of impeachment have been introduced against President Biden. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, said, illegal immigrants will be deported, so do not attempt the journey. However, officials from Homeland Security confirmed on Wednesday that thousands of Haitians are being released into America. They're telling the Haitians, just make sure that you check in with an immigration office within 60 days. And I hope you're having a very nice day. The Federal Reserve, they finished their two-day policy meeting. So here's a summary of what's going on. The Federal Reserve, they've kept interest rates near 0%. This is in order to boost the economy. With interest rates so low, it encourages more economic activity. So if you pretend that inflation doesn't exist, if interest rates are extremely low, then it would be a great time to buy a home, it would be a great time to buy a car, it would be a great time for a business to borrow money. Low interest rates, they stimulate the economy. However, we cannot pretend that inflation doesn't exist. Low interest rates, they are one of the multiple reasons for an overheating economy and inflation. The Federal Reserve, they unanimously decided to keep interest rates near zero for the time being. However, the Federal Reserve says that interest rates are going to increase by 2023, but as early as next year. The Federal Reserve, they've also been printing money to boost the economy. They've been printing $120 billion a month. This has also been contributing to inflation. The Federal Reserve has decided that they're going to reduce the money printing as early as December. When they slow down the money printing, that's called tapering. We're in September, and some economists are predicting that the Federal Reserve, they're going to announce in November that they're going to start the tapering process in December. But I want you to be aware that when the Federal Reserve, when they start the tapering process, they're still going to be printing more money. It's just going to be done at a slower rate. The money printing is expected to fall from $120 billion a month to $105 billion a month. They're going to gradually reduce the money printing each month, and they're expected to stop the money printing altogether by the middle of next year in 2022. The chairman of the Federal Reserve said a gradual tapering process that concludes around the middle of next year is likely to be appropriate. The Federal Reserve also said that economic growth is going to be lower than they originally thought, with GDP growth expectations to be 5.9% instead of the 7% that they were forecasting in June. Inflation is going to be stronger than they thought, with core inflation to be 3.7% this year instead of their 3% targets. And I want to point out, when they say 3.7% inflation, that's based on their formula that excludes so many things like food and energy. If you include food and energy, the government's official numbers, they're 4.2% instead of 3.7%. But if you don't cherry pick what they want to exclude and change the formula, which they do, then economists estimate that the true rate of inflation is around 7 to 9%. In political news, Democratic Congressman John Yarmuth, who is the chairman of the House Budget Committee, says it's highly unlikely that the Democrats are going to pass the $3.5 trillion social spending bill by the end of September. Yarmuth said on Wednesday, there's virtually no chance of getting this done by next week. The plan was to pass the human infrastructure bill and the physical infrastructure bill at the same time by September 27th, which is this coming Monday. But it looks like that is not going to happen. And this is a problem because Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the Democrats in the House, promised the moderate Democrats that they would vote on the physical infrastructure bill by the 27th. But the progressive Democrats are saying that they're going to vote no to the physical infrastructure bill on the 27th if the human infrastructure bill for $3.5 trillion is not ready by then. The Democrats, they can only afford to lose 3 votes if they want to pass the physical infrastructure bill. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says that she rallied more than 40 Democrats to vote no to the physical infrastructure bill if the human infrastructure bill isn't ready. Congressman Yarmuth said September 27th is a made-up deadline. In reality, there is no deadline. Yarmuth said Nancy Pelosi created a self-imposed deadline of the 27th. Yarmuth says Pelosi should negotiate her way out of the made-up deadline on the 27th. So to summarize the situation, if the House doesn't vote on the physical infrastructure bill by Monday, then the moderate Democrats, they're going to vote no to the human infrastructure bill. If the House votes on the physical infrastructure bill on Monday, the progressive Democrats are going to vote no to the physical infrastructure bill. The only way to unify all the Democrats and pass both bills would be to have both bills ready by Monday. But Democratic Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are against the human infrastructure bill, so they cannot finalize it by Monday. So we'll see how things develop, and I'll keep you updated. If you're enjoying this news summary, please be sure to subscribe, and I'm happy to deliver the news to you in a very straightforward manner. The Republicans are upset with President Biden because of Afghanistan, the southern border crisis, and a variety of other issues. 4 Republicans in the House of Representatives, they filed articles of impeachment against President Biden. Congressman Bob Gibbs is the leader of the group, and he's joined by Congressman Biggs, Babin, and Weber. Congressman Gibbs said, "It's clear the president is not up to the job, and his entire administration is willing to thumb its nose at the Constitution." Congressman Gibbs says that Biden does not respect the Constitution because Biden allowed the extension of the CDC eviction protection, even though the Supreme Court made it very clear that it was the Supreme Court that quickly terminated the eviction protection shortly after the CDC extended it. To Biden's defense, Biden did not authorize the extension, but he's being criticized for not stopping. In the article of impeachment, it said, President Biden's conduct warrants impeachment and trial, removal from office, and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. This is the second time that articles of impeachment have been introduced against President Biden. However, the group of Republicans are doing this just to make a point because they know that this impeachment, it's not going to make any progress because the Democrats control the House. In international news, immigrants that are illegally crossing the U.S. border are coming from more countries. Border Patrol says previously it was primarily Mexicans illegally crossing the border. Recently, it was Mexicans and Latinos from the Northern Triangle countries, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Now it's still Mexicans and Northern Triangle countries, but there's a heavier mix of other countries. From October of 2020 until August of 2021, 20% of all illegal crossings were people coming from countries other than Mexico and Northern Triangle countries. In 2007, it was 1%. In 2018, it was 5%. In 2019, it was 9%. In 2020, it was 11%. Now it's 20%. If you look at illegal immigration and exclude Mexico and Northern Triangle countries, more than 9 out of 10 people illegally crossing into America are coming from just 6 countries: Ecuador, Brazil, Haiti, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. In current events, as you know, approximately 15,000 immigrants, mostly Haitians, illegally crossed into Texas and set up camp under a bridge. Thousands of these Haitians are being released into the United States. Border Patrol says they're being released on a very, very large scale. When released into America, the Haitians are told, visit an immigration office within 60 days. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, said, if you come to the United States illegally, you will be returned. Your journey will not succeed. However, this is not what we're seeing. Yes, hundreds of Haitians, they're being sent back to Haiti on airplanes, but thousands are being released into America. And I want to end with this interesting prediction from economists. Here are 3 middle-class jobs that are expected to shrink in the future. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, these 3 groups of occupations make up the core of the U.S. middle class, which include office and administration, sales and retail, and production. These industries, they're expected to face the toughest losses because of new technologies and international competition. For office and administration jobs, technology will decrease the need for clerical work and secretaries with upgraded software for scheduling, email automation, smart expense reporting, and more. Sales and retail jobs are expected to decline because of the continued growth of e-commerce and online shopping. With production jobs, advanced manufacturing equipment is continuing to improve output and is capable of doing more complicated and detailed tasks. So those are technological advances. In addition, there's an explosion of growth in the middle class of other countries who will be competing with the American middle class for American middle class jobs. That's the news for today. If you enjoyed today's report, please be sure to subscribe. I thank you for your support, and I wish you a very nice